Allie had stopped dreaming a long time ago. Each day felt the same. Wake up, drink cold tea, walk to work with heavy steps, come home to silence. He lived alone in a small rented room in the city. The paint was peeling off the walls, and the fan made a strange sound when it turned. He didn't care. Life had already taken too much from him. That morning, like every other, Allie sat on the edge of his bed, rubbing his eyes. The clock showed 6:10 a.m. The sun was rising, but his heart felt dark. He reached down to wear his shoes. The same old brown pair with broken laces and worn-out soles. But today, something was different. As he slid his foot in, he felt something inside the left shoe. He pulled it out. It was a small folded paper, old but clean. His hands froze. He looked around. The door was locked, the windows shut. No one else lived here. "Where did this come from?" he whispered. Slowly, he opened the paper. It had only one line, written in clear black ink. "Start your day with belief. It will lead you to the truth." Allie stared at the words. His chest tightened. Who wrote this? How did it get inside his shoe? Was this some kind of joke? He checked his phone. No messages, no missed calls, nothing unusual. Still confused, he kept the note in his pocket and left. For work. The streets were busy, as always. Buses honked. People moved like they were running out of time. But Allie walked slowly, thinking about the note. Belief, he thought. What does that even mean for someone like me? He had stopped, believing long ago, in dreams, in people, even in himself. But something about the note stayed in his mind. It felt personal, like someone knew what he was going through. As he crossed the small park near the bus stop, an old man selling flowers called out to him. "You dropped this, son," the man said, holding out a small red rose. Allie shook his head. "No, that's not mine." The old man smiled. "Maybe not, but maybe it's meant for you." Allie hesitated, then took the flower. "Thanks." The man gave him a strange look. "Start your day with belief," he said softly. "That's what my wife used to tell me." Allie's eyes widened. "What did you say?" But the man just smiled again and turned to serve another customer. Allie felt a chill in his spine. This was not a joke anymore. Was this a coincidence? Or something more? At work, he couldn't focus. His boss shouted, but he didn't hear. His mind kept going back to the note. And the old man. And the words. Start your day with belief. That night, when he returned home, he opened his drawer and placed the paper beside his bed. He stared at it for a long time. The next morning, something inside him changed. Before wearing his shoes, he whispered, "I believe today will be different." Nothing magical happened. No light, no music, no miracle. But on his way out, the neighbor's child, who had never spoken to him, ran up and handed him a chocolate. "For you," the boy smiled. Allie was surprised. "Why?" The child shrugged. "You looked sad yesterday." Allie felt a lump in his throat. That small act of kindness. It made him feel seen. He walked to work with a softer heart. That night, when he returned, a second note was waiting. This time, on his table. Same handwriting. Same paper. It read, "You took the first step. Now forgive." Allie's heart skipped a beat. Forgive? His mind went straight to the past, to his younger brother, to that rainy night, to the accident. He had buried those memories deep, never talked about them. Never forgiven himself. Who was sending these notes? And how did they know what was inside him? Allie looked out of the window, holding the paper close to his chest. For the first time in many years, he felt something. Not fear, not pain, but a soft, quiet hope. He didn't understand what was happening. He didn't know where this would lead, but he wanted to find out. And that was the beginning of change, of healing, of something greater than he had ever imagined. Ali didn't sleep much that night. He lay on his bed staring at the second note. You took the first step. Now forgive. Forgive? Forgive who? The world? His brother? Or himself? Old memories came crawling back like shadows, soft, painful, and unwanted. He saw flashes of that rainy night, the broken glass, the scream, the silence. He had locked that memory deep inside. Now someone or something was unlocking it. But who was sending these notes? And why did they feel so personal? The next morning, Ali did something strange. He woke up early, took a deep breath, and whispered softly to himself, "Today, I forgive myself for surviving." It felt heavy, like trying to lift a stone with your heart. But he said it anyway. He folded the two notes and placed them in his wallet, and then he left the house. The sky was gray. A light drizzle made the air cool. Ali walked to work, taking the longer route through the old street he hadn't walked in years. It was quieter, slower. He passed a small tea stall with faded paint and cracked glass, a place he hadn't visited since he was a teenager. There, an old man with white hair stood behind the counter wiping cups. Ali stopped, feeling drawn to it. Like the tea stall was waiting for him, the old man looked up and smiled warmly. "Long time," the man said. "You used to come here often." Ali blinked. "Do I know you?" The man poured tea into a cup. "Not really, but I remember faces. You had a bright one. Not like now." Ali sat on the wooden bench. The man placed the cup in front of him. "First cup is free for those who've forgotten how to smile." Ali smiled weakly. "I guess that's me." The tea was warm, sweet, familiar. They sat in silence for a while. Then the man said, "You used to come here with your brother, didn't you?" Tall boy, always ordered 2 biscuits and spilled half the tea. Ali froze. "Yes," he said slowly. "That was a long time ago." The old man nodded. He had kind eyes. Ali looked away, trying to hide the emotion building in his chest. "Do you believe," the old man asked, "that some wounds can't be seen but still hurt every day?" Ali didn't answer. He couldn't. The man reached into his pocket and handed Ali a folded paper. Ali's hands shook as he took it. Same paper, same handwriting. "Forgive, then move." Ali looked up sharply, but the old man was already walking. Back inside the stall, Ali stood. "Wait, how do you know about this?" The man turned and simply said, "Some messages come through people, but they don't always know they're the messengers." And then he disappeared behind the curtain. Ali stood there holding the paper tight in his hand, heart pounding. This wasn't a game. This was something bigger, something spiritual, something he wasn't ready for, but needed. He didn't go to work that day. Instead, he went to the cemetery. His brother's grave was on a quiet hill near the edge of the city. He hadn't visited in years. The sky opened slowly and a light rain began to fall. Ali knelt beside the grave. His hands trembled as he placed the paper there. "I'm sorry," he whispered. "I couldn't save you. I've carried that pain every day." He paused. "And I forgive you for leaving." Tears rolled down his cheeks. "I forgive myself too," he said. "I have to, or I'll never live again." The wind blew gently through the trees. Ali felt something lift from his chest. Something dark. Something heavy. Gone. That evening, back in his room, Ali found something under his bed. A small box he didn't remember placing there. Inside was an old photo of him and his brother at the tea stall, both laughing. And a small silver key. There was also another note. "The key is to your past. Don't be afraid to open it." Ali sat down holding the photo close. He didn't know what the key opened, or who was guiding him. But for the first time in years, he felt alive. The silver key felt cold in Ali's hand. He stared at it for a long time, wondering what it opened. There was no label, no number, no clue. Just that short note. The key is to your past. Don't be afraid to open it. That night, the air felt different. Still, heavy, like something was waiting. Ali couldn't sleep. He walked to the small mirror in his room and stared at his reflection. He barely recognized himself. Tired eyes, hollow cheeks, a man who had forgotten how to live. But then something strange happened. He blinked, and for a second, just 1 second, his reflection didn't blink back. He stepped closer, his heart pounded. Suddenly he heard a soft whisper, not from outside, from inside the mirror. "Don't hide behind guilt." Ali stumbled back. "Who's there?" Silence. He stared into the mirror again. His reflection was normal now. Maybe he was tired. Maybe his mind was playing tricks. But deep inside, he knew. It wasn't his imagination. That voice was real, and it spoke the truth. The next morning, the mirror looked ordinary again. But the words from the night before stayed in his head. "Don't hide behind guilt." All day those words echoed in his ears. At work, he barely spoke. His manager shouted. His co-workers stared. But he didn't care. His mind was somewhere else, locked in the past. He remembered the crash again. He had been driving, rain falling hard, his brother joking beside him, then the sharp turn, the slippery road, the scream, and then silence. He never talked about it. Never told anyone what he saw before the crash. A figure, a flash of something in the road, but no one believed him, not even himself. That evening, Ali sat alone again. The photo and the key still lay on his table. He picked up the photo. He smiled faintly at their young faces, full of joy and dreams. Then his eyes caught something. Behind him in the photo was a small, locked cabinet at the old tea stall. He remembered it now. The owner kept it closed, said it had special memories. Ali's heart beat faster. Could the key? He didn't waste time. He rushed back to the tea stall. It was late. The city was quiet. A soft wind blew through the empty streets. When Ali reached the stall, it was closed. Lights off. No one around. He looked through the side and saw it. The small wooden cabinet, dusty and untouched. He waited and waited. But no one came. Finally, he took out the key and walked behind the stall. The cabinet was locked, just like he remembered. His hands trembled as he slid the key in. Click. It opened. Inside was a pile of old papers, letters, and photographs. One envelope had his name on it. To Ali, from your brother. Ali's hands shook as he opened it. Inside was a letter, written in familiar handwriting. Dear Ali, if you are reading this, then you've finally come back. I knew one day you would. Because you're brave. Even if you forgot that for a while. I want you to know I never blamed you for what happened. It wasn't your fault. I saw it too, that thing in the road. But I didn't say anything because I didn't want to scare you. You didn't fail me. You saved me in more ways than you know. Your kindness, your laughter, your care. You were always the stronger one. But you stopped living after I left. Please don't. Please start again. For me. For you. The world still needs your heart, Ali. Forgive. Believe. Move. With love. Your brother. Tears streamed down Ali's face. He pressed the letter to his chest and fell to his knees. All these years he had punished himself. All these years he had blamed himself. And now he knew the truth. That night, back at home, Ali stood in front of the mirror again. This time, he didn't see a tired man. He saw a survivor, a fighter, a brother. He whispered, "Thank you." And once again the mirror whispered back, "Now, move forward." It had been 3 days since Allie read his brother's letter. 3 days since he opened the cabinet at the tea stall. 3 days since his heart began to feel lighter, but also 3 days of questions. Who placed that letter there? How did his brother's words reach him years after his death? Was someone guiding him, or was it something more? He didn't have the answers, but he had one thing he didn't have before: peace. That morning the clouds were dark. Thunder rolled softly in the sky. Allie stepped out of his room and looked up at the sky. Rain was coming. He could feel it in his bones. And for the first time in years, he didn't run from it. He welcomed it. He didn't go to work that day. He walked with no plan, just followed the road, the sky, and the voice in his heart. His shoes soaked. His clothes stuck to his skin. Still, he walked, and that's when he saw her. Near the edge of the park, standing under a broken shelter, was a girl about his age, soaked from head to toe, hair sticking to her face, holding a small diary close to her chest. She looked lost, not just in direction, but in life. Ali stopped, unsure why he felt the need to talk to her. He wasn't someone who spoke to strangers, but something in her face reminded him of himself. He stepped closer. "Are you okay?" The girl looked up, surprised. She nodded slowly. I just needed to be alone." Ali gave a soft smile. "Sometimes being alone outside helps more than being alone inside." She gave a weak laugh. "Yeah, I guess." The rain poured harder. He offered her part of his umbrella. "There's a tea stall nearby. It's quiet. You'll be dry." She looked at him for a long moment, then nodded. They sat under the old tea stall roof, the rain tapping on the tin above them. She ordered tea without sugar. Ali noticed her hands were shaking. "Want to talk about it?" he asked gently. She stared at her cup. No one would understand. "Maybe not," Ali said, "but talking helps, even if the other person says nothing." She was silent for a while. Then she said, "My name's Sarah." Ali nodded. "I'm Ali." Sarah took a deep breath. "I lost someone recently. My younger sister. She died suddenly. No warning. No goodbye." Ali's heart ached. "I'm sorry," he said. Sarah looked away. "People say time heals, but it's been months, and it still hurts like yesterday." Ali looked at the rain. "I used to believe that too," he said softly, "until I realized time doesn't heal. Understanding does." Sarah frowned. "What do you mean?" Ali took out his wallet, opened it, showed her the letter his brother wrote. He didn't say anything. He just let her read. Tears rolled down her cheeks as she finished. She looked at him with red eyes. "He really wrote that?" Ali nodded. "Years ago, but I only read it now because I wasn't ready before." Sarah was quiet for a long time. Then she whispered, "My sister used to leave letters too, but I've never read them. I was scared." Ali placed a gentle hand on the table. "Maybe it's time." The rain softened. Sarah stood slowly. "Thank you, Ali," he smiled. "I didn't do anything." She shook her head. "No, you did. You reminded me that healing isn't forgetting. It's remembering with love." Ali felt something shift inside him, like a door had opened, not just in her, but in him too. That night, he stood once more in front of his mirror. He looked into his own eyes and asked, "Am I really changing?" The voice in the mirror whispered, "You're becoming who you were always meant to be." Later, that night, while drying his clothes, he found something in his jacket pocket. Another note. Same handwriting, same paper. It read, "Now that you've helped someone else, you're ready to find your purpose. Allie's breath caught. Purpose? He thought about Sarah, her pain, her healing, their conversation in the rain. Maybe, just maybe, this was the start of something more, not just healing. Meaning, Allie had changed, but not in the way people change on the outside. His change was quieter, softer, like a candle lighting up slowly in a dark room. He still had questions, still felt pain. But something deep inside had shifted, something strong and calm. He was no longer running from his past. Now he was walking toward something, even if he didn't know what. That morning, Allie found another note on his doorstep. No one around. No footsteps, no sound, just a folded paper under a small stone. He picked it up with shaky hands. Same handwriting, same feeling. He unfolded it. When you stop asking why me and start asking what now, you will find the door. Read it again and again. What now? He whispered the words softly. And somehow, they felt like the right question. He didn't want to live in the past anymore. He wanted to live for something. But what? And what door? Ali remembered a place, an old building at the end of a narrow street. It was once a children's library, then later turned into a community center. After his brother's death, he never went back. Maybe that was the door. Maybe it was just a feeling. He decided to go. The building stood quiet and forgotten, paint peeling, windows dusty, but the front gate was open. He walked through the overgrown garden. Each step felt heavy, like walking through his own memories. Reached the door. It had no name. No sign, no handle, just a small rusted keyhole. His heart skipped. Could it be? Ali slowly reached into his pocket and took out the silver key he had found days ago, the one from the tea stall's hidden cabinet. He had kept it with him all this time, not knowing why. Now he understood. His fingers shook as he placed the key into the lock. Click! The door opened with a soft creak. Inside, the air was thick with dust and silence, but something felt familiar, like stepping into a forgotten part of his own soul. The hall was empty, except for a wooden table with a single object on it. A journal. Ali walked slowly toward it. He opened the first page. His name was written on it, in his brother's handwriting. Ali's story not finished yet. Tears filled his eyes. Page after page, his brother had written memories, happy ones, sad ones, stories of their childhood, words of hope. But the last few pages were blank, except for one line, "You must fill the rest." Ali sat down, staring at those blank pages. For the first time, he felt ready to write. Hours passed. He didn't notice. He wrote his pain. He wrote his healing. He wrote about the mirror, the tea stall, the letter, the rain, and Sarah. He wrote like his soul was finally breathing, and when he reached the last page, he didn't cry. He smiled. When he closed the journal, he saw something shining under the table, a small wooden box. Inside it, another note. "You've done the hard part. Now share it." Share? How? Ali sat back, thinking. And then it came to him. His purpose. That evening, Ali visited the same park where he met Sarah. She wasn't there. But a group of teenagers were sitting nearby, laughing, some crying, some just lost in their phones. He sat near them and quietly opened his journal. He began to speak. Not loud, not as a teacher, but as someone who had been there. He told them a story. His story. Their faces turned to him one by one. At first, it was quiet. Then one girl whispered, "My sister died too." Another boy said, "I felt like disappearing for months." One by one they spoke, cried, shared, connected. Word spread. Ali began visiting parks, schools, corners of the city no one noticed. He didn't preach. He just shared. His story, his wounds, his healing. He became a voice for those who thought no one could understand. People started calling him the boy with the mirror, but Ali smiled and said, "No, I'm just someone who listened to the notes." One rainy night, months later, Sarah found him again. She had read her sister's letters, she had healed, and she had started writing too. They sat under the same tea stall, now freshly painted and full of visitors. Sarah handed Ali a small paper. Another. Note, same style, same words. When you give your story to others, your own healing grows. Ali looked up at her, tears in his eyes. "Did you write this?" Sarah smiled. "No, it was inside one of my sister's books. I think it was meant for you." Ali didn't understand it all. He didn't need to. Oh, he knew he had once been broken, and now he was whole enough to help others. Ali stood on the small stage in the community park, holding the same journal he once found in the building with no name. It had been months since he began sharing his story. At first, it was only to one or two people, but now the crowd had grown. Teenagers, old men, mothers with children, students, even strangers who had heard his name online. They didn't come for entertainment. They came for something real. They came for hope. Ali wasn't a perfect speaker. Sometimes he stuttered, sometimes he paused. But every word came from a place of truth, and that's why people listened. That night, as the wind blew gently and the stars blinked above, Ali closed the journal after reading a part of his story and said, "Pain doesn't go away when we hide it. It leaves slowly when we hold it together." The crowd clapped softly, tears in eyes, smiles on faces. But just as Ali was about to step down, a man from the back shouted, "Who gave you the first letter?" The crowd went quiet. Ali blinked. He had been asking himself the same question since the beginning. The notes, the mirror's voice, the key, the journal, the perfectly timed messages. Was it all random, or was someone leading him? Ali took a deep breath. "I don't know," he said honestly. "But maybe it doesn't matter anymore." The man frowned. "Why not?" Ali smiled softly. "Because the message wasn't about who sent it. It was about what it woke up inside me." After the gathering, Ali walked through the crowd. People stopped him, shook his hand. Some hugged him silently. A little girl gave him a small drawing, Ali standing in front of a giant heart with light coming out. He held it to his chest. Then something strange happened. As the crowd began to move, Ali noticed a woman watching him from the far end. She looked familiar, but he couldn't place her. She didn't speak. She just smiled and slipped a small envelope into his hand as she walked past. Ali turned to stop her, but she disappeared into the crowd. He looked down. Another note. His fingers trembled. He opened it. Inside was a short message. "You're ready for the final truth. Go to the place where your tears first fell." His heart dropped. He knew exactly where that was. The old bridge. The one near the edge of the highway. The place where his brother had died. The place where Ali once stood months ago, thinking of ending it all. That night, he returned. The wind was cold, the sky quiet. Ali stood in the same spot. He closed his eyes and let the memories come. The sound of tires, his brother's laughter, the crash, his scream, and the silence that followed. He whispered into the night, "I'm not afraid anymore." He opened his eyes and saw someone standing at the other end of the bridge, the same woman from the crowd, now closer, still silent. Ali walked toward her slowly. She didn't move, didn't blink. When he reached her, she handed him something, a mirror, old, small, the same one from his room. Ali held it with shaky hands. "How do you have this?" he asked. She finally spoke. Her voice was gentle, familiar. "You've seen me before. In reflections, in dreams, in silence. I was never outside you. I was inside you. Ali stepped back. Who are you? The woman smiled. I'm the voice that whispered when you were alone. I'm the guide that sent the letters. I'm not your brother. I'm not a ghost. I'm your own light. Your soul trying to save itself. Ali's eyes filled with tears. All this time, it was me? She nodded. Your pain blinded you, but your heart kept fighting. You sent yourself reminders, through memory, through courage, through love. Ali dropped to his knees. The mirror glowed faintly in his hand. The woman whispered one last thing. Now you must help others find their voice. And just like that, she was gone. Ali sat on the bridge for a long time, watching the night, holding the mirror. He wasn't broken anymore. He wasn't confused. He understood now. The journey wasn't about finding a stranger with answers. It was about awakening the part of him that had the answers all along. That night, Ali went home and began a new journal. But this time it wasn't for him. It was for the world. He started writing letters, messages, little notes of hope. He left them in books, under benches, near hospitals, in cafes. And slowly, strangers began finding them and healing, just like he once did. Ali had become something he never expected, a silent healer. Ali now lived a life filled with quiet purpose. He was no longer just the boy who once felt lost. He had become a quiet voice in the noise of the world, a voice of hope, healing, and second chances. Each morning, he left one small handwritten note somewhere in the city, inside a library book, under a coffee cup, near a hospital bed on a park bench. Each note said something different, but all of them had the same message underneath. You matter. Don't give up. And people began to notice, not just the notes, but the change. One cold evening, as the sun set behind the city, Ali sat by his window holding a new leather notebook in his hands. The pages were clean, fresh, empty. He had bought it that morning from a small roadside shop. There was no title on the cover, no design, no brand. It was just blank, yet it felt special, almost sacred, as if it was meant for something big, something true. Ali didn't write in it yet. He was waiting. Later that night, he went to the old community center, the same place where he once found his brother's journal. He sat inside the quiet room, lit only by a single lamp. He opened the first page of the new notebook and slowly wrote, "This is not a story with an ending. This is a beginning that never stops." Days passed. Ali used the notebook differently. It wasn't about his pain anymore. Now it was filled with stories from others. He met a young boy who had lost his father. He wrote the boy's story in the notebook. He met a woman who hadn't spoken in months after her daughter's death. He sat with her in silence, then wrote her strength in the notebook. Every page was filled with real lives, real battles, real healing, and every story ended the same way. And then they stood up again. One afternoon, Sarah came to visit. She had brought her own journal, a blue one filled with poems and letters she had written after reading her sister's messages. They sat together under the same tree where they once met during the rain. Ali showed her the notebook. She read the pages slowly, holding back tears. "This is beautiful," she whispered. "It's like a book of broken hearts, learning how to beat again." Ali nodded. "I don't want to be the author. I want to be the listener." But something unexpected happened next. That night, when Ali returned home, he found the notebook on his bed. He didn't remember bringing it in, and inside was a new page, one he didn't write. His hands shook as he read, "When you have given your story to others, your final chapter begins. No name, No handwriting he recognized, but the message felt true, and something in his heart shifted. That night, Ali had a dream. He was walking in a forest, alone. Then he saw a path lit by candles. At the end of the path stood a small house with no door, just an open frame. He stepped inside and saw one thing in the center of the room, a giant book with no title. He opened it and saw every story he ever wrote, every pain he healed, every person he helped, and one final blank page. Just one. Then, a voice whispered, "To end your story, you must go back to the place it began." Ali woke up with tears in his eyes. He knew what he had to do. The next morning, he took the notebook and walked back to where it all began. His brother's grave. He had not been there in a long time. He had avoided it, feared it, but now he felt ready. The sky was gray, the ground was wet. He stood in silence for a long time. Then he sat beside the grave and opened the notebook. He wrote, "Dear brother, you didn't leave me. You led me. Through every note, every mirror, every word. I thought I was alone, but you were guiding me back to myself. Thank you for letting me become the boy who lived, so others could too." He closed the notebook, and this time, he didn't cry. He smiled. Just as he stood to leave, he noticed something at the edge of the grave, a flower, but not just any flower, a white rose, fresh and perfect, though there had been no roses around. Under it, folded carefully, was one last note. He bent down and opened it. It said, "Now you know. This story was never yours alone. It was always ours, and it was always meant to be shared." Ali looked at the sky. He felt the wind kiss his face. He whispered, "Thank you," and walked away, leaving the notebook behind, placed gently beside the rose. It was no longer his to keep. It was the world's. Ali no longer chased answers. He lived them. He no longer feared silence. He understood its language now. He had walked through darkness, followed small lights, listened to quiet voices, and returned as someone entirely new, not perfect, not unbreakable, but deeply alive. The city knew him now, not as a speaker, not as a hero, but as a quiet presence, someone who sat with broken people, someone who never rushed healing, someone who believed in the power of one story, one voice, one life at a time. One afternoon, Ali sat at a new park that had opened on the city's edge. Children laughed nearby. Old men played chess. Birds circled gently in the air. He sat under a tree, watching the world move. Beside him was an old man with kind eyes. They didn't talk at first, just silence. Then the man looked at Ali and said, softly, "People don't change the world by shouting. They change it by whispering something true into the right ear at the right time." Ali smiled. It was the exact sentence he once found in a letter long ago. "How did you know that?" Ali asked. The old man shrugged. "Some truths travel by themselves. You don't always need to know where they started, just where they're needed next." That night, something strange happened. Ali dreamed again. But this time it wasn't the forest or the house. It was a room filled with mirrors. Each mirror showed a different version of him. The sad boy, the angry one, the lost one, the one who smiled at the park. Then he heard a familiar voice. His brother's voice, clear, calm. "Ali. The voice you were looking for was always inside you. You were never broken. You were just waiting to meet yourself again." Ali opened his eyes, tears on his face, but this time they weren't tears of pain. They were peace. The next day, Ali walked to the city library, a place he hadn't been since childhood. He carried a single item in his hand, the last letter, the C, one he had found beside his brother's grave. He walked to the center of the library, found a small bookshelf, and gently placed the letter inside a random book. No name, no note, just faith. Someone would find it. And maybe their life would begin again, just like his did. Ali's story didn't go viral. He didn't become a celebrity. But his story traveled through whispers, just as it was meant to. Letters left in books, voices shared in cafes, stories passed from heart to heart. One day, a girl found a note inside a book that said, "You are not alone. The world still needs your story." She read it, cried, and then wrote her own. Years later, people spoke about the silent notebook. No one knew who started it. But the idea was simple. Leave a blank notebook somewhere. Let strangers write their pain, their truth, their healing. Then, pass it on, from country to country, from soul to soul, no names, no followers, just stories, left like seeds. Ali had become a spark, one that never needed a stage, just a heart willing to feel. Ali lived a long, gentle life. He kept helping, kept writing, kept listening, and one day, quietly, he passed away in his sleep. No big news, no funeral with cameras, just a small note left behind in his room. Don't cry because it ended. Smile, because now it lives inside you. And so it did. Ali's voice, soft, kind, patient, never died. It moved into the hearts of everyone he touched, and even those he never met, because true voices don't disappear. They echo. They rise again in broken people finding their strength. In quiet letters read at midnight, in notebooks left on benches, Ali's voice became a part of the world's soul, and it still speaks. To anyone brave enough to listen,